today. My name is Dr. Doug, and as you know, this is a talk about gut health and gut-brain connection. And you're probably wondering why a chiropractor is selling that idea to you. But as a chiropractor for the last 14 years, before that I was trained as a nutritionist, trained in university. But all the things we're going to talk about today, most of those things have been discovered in the last 10 years. And I think personally fills a very big gap. So the reason we do this is we want to talk to patients about not just chiropractic, but as you see from our name, it's complete health. So we're looking at how you move, how you think, how you feel, and how you eat. And all these things come together to give you the best possible health. So as a show of hands, is anybody really suffering with something they think is related to their gut health? Is anyone just came in here by mistake, thinking it was a coffee shop? Anybody? There's one. Right, so let me tell you what we're going to be doing today and what we're going to learn. And the only thing I want to achieve today is for everybody at the end to say, wow, the human body is amazing. And if you don't do that, then I would have let you down and not given you the information you need, okay? As we go along, if you want to ask questions, feel free at any time. But just know at the end, if you've got anything more personal you want to talk about, I usually stay around and we have a chat about some more personal things. But if you've got any general questions, please feel free to ask them out. So there's going to be a talk through basically how it all works. So we're going to start with how the brain communicates with the gut and how the gut communicates with the brain. Then we're going to explain how this affects your emotions, why it can very much be involved with depression and how your mood is affected. We're then going to talk about the role of the gut microbes and how they sort of work together, how one can overpower the other, and how this affects the things you eat. And then we're going to look at whether your diet is helping you or hurting you and how you would find out whether that's working for you. We're going to then relate that to stress and how that is going to affect your nervous system and how it's going to create stress in your body and inflammation. And then right at the end, we're just going to look at how you can make some really good changes and some decisions in your life and give you some examples of things that can do that. So first of all, let's start off by saying that the gut and the brain we now know are very similar in terms of how they operate. There's millions and millions and millions of neurons in here, millions and millions of neurons in here, and they basically talk to each other with two different systems. So as chiropractors, some of you might have heard of a nerve that travels through here all the way to the gut. Does anybody know what that is?
Vagus nerve.
Yes. So I one of the reasons I call myself Dr. Doug is because doctor means what? What does it mean? It means teacher. It comes from the Latin word teacher. So because years ago what would happen is doctors would teach people about health, not just tell them they need these pills. And I'm not saying those pills are bad, I'm just saying the whole point was to teach you how to build health. So I'm going to work in a more Socratic way and ask some questions. So basically the vagus nerve is the thing that connects your brain directly to your gut. And then, so how do you think the gut transmits messages to the brain?
Same thing.
Kind of, but the gut actually produces neurotransmitters, and we're going to talk about that later. So these are messages like hormones that go up into the brain and ask it to do things. Let's start off with a really interesting fact, right? Do you remember how many billion, actually trillion microbes we have in our stomachs? Anyone want to guess?
2 million.
38.
Oh.
38, 39, I know it's not going to be exact, but 38 trillion, right? So there's more microbes than there is human. Human cells don't even come close to that number. So I kind of see us as just like this vehicle that goes around satisfying our gut microbe. We don't actually think for ourselves. So basically, have you ever seen people who are really overweight, and I'm not in any way making any, but they still want to eat the same foods. Why? It's not that they don't have enough energy. They do, because they've got all this fat that's energy. So why is it they keep eating the same foods? Why don't they try the salads and the vegetables and the different things? Why is it they keep going for like the sugars and the bad foods? Well, one thing that your neurotransmitters do is they tell your brain you want something. So if you have a certain type of microbiome that is overpowering the others because you've been feeding it, it starts telling your brain, we want more of that. And the other messages don't get through. So that's one way that we see that, you know, diet is so much more complex than just calories in and calories out. It's the desire for certain things that this is happening in your stomach. So this changes your emotions and it changes your behavior. So your behavior is, I want the thing that my brain is telling me, but you don't know that it's your gut that's telling your brain to go and get that thing. So we're sort of, I guess we're just vehicles for that. We're like sort of these big sort of things that gets our microbes what they want. And they've been around for hundreds of thousands, millions of years. We've been around for thousands of years. So emotions are also affected by this, because if you don't get the thing you want, somehow it tells you that you should be sad and sends a message that you should be sad. And it creates things like anxiety and depression, which are now directly linked to gut. Now, do you know where serotonin is produced in the body? Do you know what serotonin is? It's kind of like the happy drug, or the, it helps you move. Do you know where it's produced in the body? Does anybody know?
What was in the brain, wasn't
Yeah. And all the medications now, some of the biggest medications in the world are antidepressants. And the basis of an antidepressant, an SSRI, is your brain chemistry is not producing enough serotonin. So that's the basis for those drugs. Over the last 15 years, there's a study done in England and Wales. Drug prescriptions for antidepressant has gone up by 46% in 15 years. But has depression come down by 46%? No, because we now know that 90% of serotonin is produced in the gut, not in the brain. So the whole idea of the medicine is completely wrong and is not helping people in any way, shape or form. Okay? So this is something I was sort of fascinated by. And everything I'm saying today can be backed up with evidence and studies and research. I just don't have the time to keep explaining. I actually don't have the memory of each one of them as well. We have them all written down, and you've got handouts to help you with that as well. So if you've got a problem with your gut flora, it's going to change the way you behave, it's going to change the way you feel, and no amount of antidepressants is going to change that. So here's a question. Do you know how much food you eat in a day? In weight?
Too much.
Correct answer. No, let's just say an average person eats around 1.4 kilos a day. So let's times that. Let's just keep the maths simple and say no one's going to argue with that. Some can be more, some can be less. Let's times that by a year. We're now up into 460 or 470 kilos. Let's say 500 kilos, because you probably had a few extras along the way, of food. Then let's times that by the years we're on this planet. We're now up into 36 to 40,000 kilos of food. So would you say food is quite an important part of your life? So if you're eating 36 to 40,000 kilos of bad food, how do you think that's going to affect you over your lifetime? Yeah. And I think one of the things that really fascinates me, and again, I'm not having a go, I'm just saying this is a fact, right? A doctor takes 10 years to train to help you with your health. How many hours in 10 years of training do you think is for diet? Let me help you out. It's not double figures in hours. Okay? It is mad, and I agree. And I'm not saying that they don't help people in lots of other ways, but I would say the food that you put in your body is probably the most significant thing that can change your health. Obviously, I would say chiropractors are probably the most significant, but that's not. So what I would argue is that the diet that you have is either a medicine or a poison. And I'm going to prove to you how that is even more important now. When you think of how, if you feed yourself the right foods, you build something in you that can change your behavior, can change your health, can change whether you have anxiety and depression, and can change whether you've got energy. So what is metabolism? We all know the word, right? What does it mean?
What you put in is what you get out. What you burn.
It's what it's how fast it went through kind of thing.
Yeah, it's basically a calculation of energy. Metabolism is how much energy you can burn, so how much efficiency, yeah. But you can have in and out, but not actually efficiently use it, right? So this is, if you've got the right amounts of microbiome, they're designed to suck in that food, get the best out of it, break it down, and give it to your body. So if you can eat all day long, if you're not absorbing the nutrients of that food, then your metabolism's not getting what it needs. So what happens then? It starts sending messages. I want more food, but it doesn't tell you exactly which ones it wants. It gives you a sense of what it wants. So, does anybody know what a probiotic is? A prebiotic, a postbiotic? There you go, 3 questions in one. Come on, probiotic.
I take a probiotic
It's only
every
yogurt.
morning.
Yeah, what is it
No.
though? What is it?
Well,
It's great. It's good
They just
Supposed
say
to
it's
be
good for you, don't they? It's
It
healthy
does make your
bacteria.
gut microbes.
It is. It's already the gut bacteria. So
Yeah.
probiotic is sort of saying this is already something that your body can use and work with. So what's a prebiotic?
It's like the foods, like the
That feeds it, basically. Yeah. So what would be a good example of a prebiotic? In one word, in one type of food.
Dairy?
Fibre. So kind of the opposite of that. Yeah, so anything with fibre. Do you know how many different types, variety of food you should have fibre every week? There's a number. 30. Someone's done their homework coming in today. If you don't do your homework, you don't pass the test, and there is a test at the end. Yeah, so basically, you've got to feed with prebiotics, your probiotics, which you can also have as well, but obviously the ones in you are going to be the ones designed for you, good or bad. And so what is a postbiotic? It's what happens after. Yeah, so it's what those probiotics use the prebiotics to produce, which is the neurotransmitters that they send to your brain and all the things that your body can use. And this is your first line of defense in your stomach. 75% of your immune system is in your stomach. 75%, right? I know this because I watched the poo expert on Diary of a CEO, and he did a PhD on it. 60% of your poo is your gut bacteria. So every day you're losing 60% of that, that feces is gut bacteria. I had something really important to say that goes along with that. Right, so so if you think about your immune system as well, it is the most important thing for keeping you alive, for keeping you protected from pathogens. We all remember COVID. So if you've got an immune system that is working really well because it's working well with your symbiosis, your stomach, you're going to have a much better health generally, and you're going to have less disease. So there's another reason why it would be good to eat the right foods. But more importantly, when do you think we actually first get this gut bacteria? When do you think we first start to have that?
So the first 5 years, isn't it, I think? No?
It's actually when the mother's water breaks. You get flooded with these bacteria. That's when you first meet these friends that are going to take over your life and start controlling everything you do and everything you say. So, and again, I'm not having a go, but if you have a natural birth, and I know sometimes you can't because for risk reasons, you're going to get much more of that when you're born. Yes, you can build it up later on in life, and that would be a really important thing to do. Do you think when they come out, when the mother comes out from giving a cesarean, they give her probiotics?
No.
Prebiotics?
No.
No. But it's 60% of your immune system is gone straight away. So it can. And the great thing is that you're going to find out later as well is this can be changed in literally weeks. You can start changing. There's been evidence and studies to show that you can change this literally in weeks. So how does this all start to cause problems in terms of things like inflammation and pain? We do talks on that here because it makes perfectly sense in a chiropractic clinic where we have physiotherapy and massage. Why wouldn't we talk about inflammation? But guess what? Some people have chronic inflammation. If you've seen these people with fibromyalgia, chronic inflammation, IBS, Crohn's, all these diseases, do you think they might have something to do with this? Now you know what you know? Well, let me add a little bit more information here. So there are 3 T's to stress. There's what you think, there's toxicity, what you eat and what you absorb and breathe, and then there's another one, isn't there? Trauma, any damage that you've had. Yeah. So those 3 T's are really important to us. So we want to look at your trauma, we want to look at how you think, what you're dealing with on a mental basis, and you also how you deal with on in terms of your diet. So if you can bring all those down, and you can help relieve inflammation because stress increases inflammation through cortisol, that's going to help your pain, right? So there's so many reasons why diet can help so many different conditions. But you've got to understand how it can help you personally because everyone is different. So in this room, every single person has 99.999 recurring genetic code that is exactly the same. But when we get to gut health, only about 20% is the same. Even if it was a twin brother that you've grown up with all your life, eating the same food, done the same thing, it's a maximum of 20% that is the same. So everyone's got their own thing. So that adds a little bit more complexity to, okay, this is the general advice because everyone's a little bit different. So there are going to be some people in this room that metabolize carbs better than fat. and better than different proteins, because their gut microbes will be set up like this big kind of factory that just works better at breaking down different things. So one of the things I try and sort of look at, I mean, I don't know whether have you all heard of the Zoe app?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a patient at the moment who has Crohn's, and she came to one of my other talks for something completely different. But I asked her advice about this. She's been using Zoe, and they actually have an app where once they've checked your gut microbiome and they see where you would be beneficial and where it would be harmful, you can literally get like a can of food and just zap it, and it'll tell you whether it's going to hurt you, harm you, and to what level. So there's clearly a system and a scientific system in place that can make things so much better for you or so much worse for you, depending on what you're going to eat. And only you personally can find that out. But there are, like I said, there are some rules, 30 different types, variety of different colours. So how can you get 30 different types of food into your diet in a week? Does anybody eat 30 different types of fibre? No? No?
Is it different fruit, different fibre, is it?
Yeah, so this is the bit that when I watched the video of Tim Spector, who's the guy who runs Zoe, he's the PhD, does all this stuff, he's a very, very clever professor. He makes a very good point. He said, so if you get up in the morning and you have some porridge, there's one. Then you add some cinnamon, there's two. Then you put some berries in, there's three. Even if those berries are dried berries, if you put some nuts and seeds and different seeds are mixed, you're up to about 7 or 8 with one meal. So it's not actually that difficult, but the variety then, you want to have some vegetables, you want to have some pulses. Even dark chocolate is a really high phenols in it that can really help your gut health. So if you think about it, in one day, you could probably do it in a day if you just had that mix of things. So we fill up our cupboard, my wife and I fill up our cupboard with a range of things that if we just do it quickly, even herbs, mixed herbs is 5, if you have 5 different mixed herbs, that's 5 different microbiome feeders. So when you look at it that way, those are some really good ways to, and we put some examples in your handouts. You've got some handouts here. I think we even put a nice bar in there that's got about 5 of your daily need. Right, so let's get on to this little thing here, okay? So this is your spine, and we're going to talk about how stress from your gut can affect lots of different areas of your body, and how also getting a spine that's working better through chiropractic can help both ways. So we have 2 nervous systems. Sympathetic is in yellow, and then we have parasympathetic. Does anybody know the difference between those 2? Come on. Sympathetic nervous system? Okay, has anyone heard of fight or flight?
Yeah.
What's the other one?
Rest and digest.
Thank you. Was that you?
Yeah.
You're not allowed to answer. You literally live with me and listen to this stuff all day long. But thanks anyway. Right? So, which one would be better for healing and repair and helping your body digest out of those 2? The fight or flight, or the literally rest and digest and repair? Yeah. So when your body's in a state of inflammation, if your body's in a state of physical trauma or stress, which one do you think is working? The fight or flight or the parasympathetic? Fight or flight. Most of us are in that all the time. I think it was a comedian that had really bad depression. She did a talk, I can't remember her name, but I remember watching the talk, and her talking about stress in modern society. So stress back in the ages of, I don't know, mammoths and saber-toothed tigers. Stress would essentially be, this big rush, fight or flight, and you'd either fight or you'd run, and you'd live, and that's how we made it to today. But in modern society, we just get stresses all around us all the time. Not big enough to cause that thing, but just like a dripping tap. And that dripping tap of cortisol into the body is creating stress for your internal system. So you don't burn it off the same, because if you did the fight or flight and you got that adrenal rush, what would happen is that fight or that flight would burn that off, and then you'd feel really kind of tired and relaxed, and your body would go into rest and digest. We're kind of carrying those little dripping tap of stress and cortisol around with us all the time. Every time we get a letter because we got a parking fine because I drove in that little lane on the side there. Every time I go and pick up my wife from London and get a ULIS fee, more stress. This both happened in the last month. And these little things, they're not enough to make me go crazy, but they're enough to just add that little bit more stress to my life. Have I paid this bill? Is this patient getting better? Am I getting great results? Is my boss going to pay me this month? All these things are in the back of your mind all the time. We have literally 16,000 thoughts a day that are stressful, that are worrying, because we're built to be designed to be stressful. So one of the reasons why this kind of builds up in us is because we don't burn it off, or we don't use it in the right way. So this is why things like exercise, feeling like your spine has not got any issues, any sort of restrictions, your body's functioning well, is able to keep those things down. And this is what we see when clients come to us. They're in this fight or flight, and they're difficult to deal with. They're difficult people. Sometimes we have patients who are just like, oh, that person's coming back again. And then after about 3 or 4 sessions, they're like the most wonderful person, because their mood has changed from their stress levels dropping completely. And I think it's really important to understand, the one stress that nobody really talks about here today is gravity. We're all being pushed into the ground, right? All the time we're being pushed into the ground. We're not just standing here, we're being pushed. So if gravity is removed, we all start floating around and we float off. So what is the one thing that's holding me up now? What's stopping my skeleton dropping to the ground?
Muscles.
Yeah, my posture, the thing that's holding me up. And if my posture starts to go forward, more stress, more stress, more stress. In fact, for every inch that your head goes forward, it doubles in weight. So if you hold a bowling ball here, or you hold a bowling ball there, which one's going to give you back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain? This one's going to eventually, but that's going to be a lot quicker. So we're trying to remove the stress obviously from your diet, but also mechanically. So these two things can work together as a team. And if we can do all of the great work with the spine, but if there's a dietary issue going on, stopping that person with chronic inflammation, then yeah, it's going to make a really big impact on their care and how long it takes them to get better. So we purposely give you really bad microbiomes, so you get really stressed, and we can spend more treatments and you spend more money with us. I just made that. So it's really important to understand that our job is not just about getting the misalignments and cracking the neck. It's about understanding you as a person and helping you, coaching you through a period of time where we deal with the sort of restrictions, we also deal with your exercise, we also give you nutritional advice. It is complete health. And then I don't know all the answers to your gut microbiome or your gut microbiome, but I can tell you where to go, and I can tell you who to ask, and I can tell you how to find out about it. And that's really what all we can do, is coach people to a certain degree. I won't tell you to do it, I can tell you where it is, and it's your choice to go. I mean, the fact that everyone's come in here today and has taken action to find out a little bit more, you're already on that journey of coaching yourself and finding out more about it. So would you all agree, wow, the human body is incredible, right?
Yeah.
But a bit like the earth that we're on, which is also incredible, are we doing our best to look after it? Would you say the earth's a bit stressed at the moment?
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's probably in that at the moment, right? Fighting or flighting. And I think that's one thing that we can control. We can't control what everyone else is doing, but in your own, environment, in your own kind of space, your own circle of influence, you can take action to help yourself. And whether that's with changing your diet a little bit every day, getting more exercise, getting your spine to work better so it can supply all these organs with the nerves at the right level, not in this, but in this. And then what we find as well, when people are with us for a couple of weeks, they start sleeping better. Would anyone like to sleep better? Would anyone like to digest their food better and feel like when they got up in the morning they actually had some rewarding kind of energy, and they got off their bed and they feel like they want to start the day instead of, oh, where's the coffee? And I think that's something that is really important about your gut health as well, is that if you feed it well, it'll digest better, it'll work for you, and it'll metabolize and give you the energy. Most people we see as well, fatigue. They're fatigued, they're tired. Does anybody feel fatigued in here? I'm looking at you for a reason. You look knackered in the corner. No, come on, does anyone feel fatigued? Does anyone feel that they're getting the best energy? Why is it you can drink this energy drink and then within half an hour you're like, it's not doing anything for me? They used to make me go to sleep. I don't know how that happened, but I used to go out and take a Red Bull and I'd just be like, well, I gotta go home, I gotta sleep. I don't know why it had the opposite effect on me. I'm someone that can drink coffee at night and just go to sleep. I think everyone's a little bit different, but I think one thing that is the same is this. It all has to hold you up as well as you can. If you've got really good gut microbes, Your body's going to help reduce inflammation, so these areas are going to be in less pain, and the distortions that we generally have had through our life, normal wear and tear, are going to heal better because your immune system's working better. So this is the actual sort of complete health that we want for our patients. And we don't stop at just doing the treatments. We do these talks for a reason, because we want to share some information that you might find interesting, might help your health, you might go away now and just go straight to the shop and buy some nuts and seeds. Great, those little changes will make a huge difference. But it isn't just one thing. Everybody wants this one diet, this silver bullet that's sexy, and it's from California, or it's so-and-so. Nothing works like that. Little changes over time is what makes you consistently better. If you go to the gym for 1 week and go crazy, nothing happens, right? It's going once or twice, 3 times a week over a period of a year that makes an incredible difference and makes that body, your dream body come to life. And that's what chiropractic is about. It's about little and often. It's about little changes in different things, not just your posture, but in your diet, in the way that you think. And hopefully today everyone's going to be a little bit more focused on things they think they can make a difference to. But just remember, for me, one of the biggest things I think has impacted over the last 10 to 15 years, and we've all seen this, and you can blame social media for this one, is anxiety and depression. Would anyone agree that that's because, does anybody know anybody that's got anxiety and depression? Come on, let's have a show of hands. No, I know you. I know you. That was for you, by the way. No, I think everyone gets a little bit of this now and again, right? And we wonder why. I have a very, very fulfilled life. I'm a very, very happy person. I help people out of pain. I live a healthy life. I'm 53 years old. I've just signed up to do the ultra in October, 50k, and I'm not even worried about it. I love my life. But aren't there times when you just wake up some days, or you feel like things are a bit too much, or whatever? Sometimes it might be worth checking your diet and checking what you had the night before. Does anyone here drink alcohol? Show of hands. Sort of somewhere in between. You don't drink alcohol?
No, I don't know.
No offense. Do you? You don't drink alcohol? Wow, you do? Good, I do. No, I just do it little, not little and often, but I have little bits now and again. And when we finish here, I've got 4 tickets to the beer festival. So just know that that's going to happen today. But I haven't drunk for 2 weeks, so I kind of manage it. Like I sort of set myself up. And the same with my diet. I'm not 100% bought into this. I'm about 80-85%. But do you think that makes a difference to my happiness, to my depression, to my energy levels? When I'm working and I'm treating patients, who wants to be treated by someone that's low energy? Come on. Oh, get on the bench. Or someone like, my hip. Oh, I've got inflammation in the hip. But I'll sort your back out, no problem. Where are you going? Straight out the door. Straight out the door into some young, fit, healthy person that's full of energy. So I need to keep my energy levels up. Patrick also works here. Yeah. So this talk was especially for him, just to get some, So what we're trying to say is, and I'll stop in a second, we'll have some questions, but what we're trying to say is it is multifactorial, it does take a little bit of work. I really encourage, has any of you seen the program on YouTube, Diary of a CEO? What?
Is that Stephen Park?
That's it, yeah. So I go onto YouTube, put Diary of a CEO, right, and put poo. And watch this guy talk about your gut, your poo, your microbes, and he says something really important. As a chiropractor, if I want to check if you're in pain, I'm going to check your neck, I'm going to do some tests, we're going to take an x-ray. Why can't you see, what he's arguing is, why can't you do that with poo? Why are we stigmatized? Because it tells everything about your gut biome. And this is what Zoe do. He's part of, I think he's an American who works with Tim Spector, and they work together on this. Yeah, they charge money for it, but it's an incredible service that could change your life in a way. People with Crohn's disease, IBS, chronic inflammation, fibromyalgia. Do you think that wouldn't make a positive impact on their lives? And those kind of people, if you said I could give you a 20% improvement, a 30% improvement in your quality of life, they would rip your arms off for that. They would put £10,000 on the table, because every day they're suffering with this. When really, I think this is the missing piece in the puzzle. This is the piece over the last 10 years that, as we know, drug companies will give you, drugs instead of exercise advice, instead of dietary advice. Why? Because the doctor doesn't get paid when he gives you exercise advice or dietary advice. They will do it, but they get paid for giving drugs. And I'm not saying they all do it for that reason, but it's a bit of a bias, right? Like I get paid for treating you. So do you think I'm going to go downstairs and go, no, you can just do some exercises on your own? I like to do both. I think the two things side by side are really helpful if I think it's the right thing for you. So there is always going to be a motivating factor behind it. But you're all going to have a why while you're here, okay? There's going to be a why. You're all going to have a reason. But my question to you, now you know this information, 30 pieces of variety of fibre every day, my question is, why not? What reason have you got to say that's not something you can do? So that little change can make a huge difference to your life. And when it does, come back and thank me. Okay? Right, I think we're gonna sort of leave the talk there. Are there any questions? Does anybody want to ask me anything? I don't know it all, but I might be able to point you in the right direction if I can't answer the question. Come on, someone's going to be first.
So do you do that testing to see what your genetics are?
Do I do that?
Yeah, do you do it here? Because you read all sorts of things, don't you, on Facebook?
I wouldn't do the
and stuff like
genetics
that.
testing. I think that is
To
something
see
that doesn't
what
make.
your body does actually need, like
I would,
Zoe.
the only thing I would do is the Zoe thing because it's microbiome. It's not genetics.
There are a couple that I can't remember the name of it, but I could find it out because one of my
Because
colleagues has done it.
My question is, where do you start?
Well, let
Do you really
me
want to
go
see
back to
your
what we
body
said earlier, right? We're all 99.999 recurring the same. So there you go. I've just done the test for you. The only thing that's going to be different is tiny little things, and they're not going to make any difference to what you eat every day. Because you could say, well, I know this about my genetics, but is that going to make a difference to your microbiome? Because that is unique to every single person. So any testing for genetics is not going to tell you about your mind. The Zoe test, and I'm not from Zoe, but I know someone that did it and is now using it, and it's made an incredible 80% improvement to her Crohn's. But it takes time. But that's the thing I would do. I don't know anything about genetics. All I know is that we're all pretty much the same. Even I think like a fly is like 92% the same as us.
I was going to say mouse is 98%.
There you go.
So
Thank you.
Zoe isn't the only microbiome test. There is another one. I would have to find out what it's called. But a colleague.
But that's the one I know she used and has been successful and wasn't.
You don't. You're kind of guessing what your body likes, what it doesn't. Obviously, you know.
Yeah.
Things
And
that
you have
happen.
signs of bloating,
I was going to say if
diarrhea,
Yeah,
your
exactly.
body, if you
And it's like the supplements. You're kind of guessing what you think you might need.
Yes. So I mean, because it's really funny. I take about 8 supplements a day, and I don't know that they're doing anything for me. But let me tell you, I don't want to change because I've not felt better than this in my life, right?
Yeah.
I can't feel it literally like when you shoot somebody, you see them die, right? When you take a medicine, very often you'll feel your headache go away. Supplements is more about supporting something that you don't actually feel. You can't feel your gut microbiome. You don't know what's happening there, so you don't know whether yours is good or bad. But I think there's something called trial and error, and if you know that logically it makes sense for you to do something and you know that you have a deficiency, but there's certain things like, for example, do you think the food today, if you eat a carrot, it's got exactly the same nutrients as a carrot 100 years ago? So there's certain things that you kind of know that if you took a multivitamin, as long as it came from a genuinely good company that you know is a good company, another problem again, that you're going to get some nutrients that you're probably not getting from that carrot that you used to get. So it's things like that I would advise people on, is saying, look, there's sort of general things that I think would be helpful. They can be expensive, but I think you're not going to get an immediate feeling. But in terms of your gut health, all you need to do is eat 30 different types of fibre over a period of, say, a month, and you should feel a difference. You're going to eat food anyway, right? So all you would do is change that. So it's like a trial and error. And then if you found that you weren't getting changes, you weren't getting improvement, maybe after a couple of months, then you would go down the road of, let me see if there's something that's not quite right about me. I've done this, I've tried this, I've tried to eat properly. You would never do it without trying that first. We always say this with chiropractic. You would never go for surgery until you tried something like this first. Because the surgery is not, any surgeon will tell you, this is just because it's the last result doesn't mean it's the best result. So I think just giving your body a chance to try something first, and then you could go down the road of finding something out, because it's a trial and error. I tried doing the advice, and do you know what? I haven't felt much of a difference.
I see, your question, years and years ago in Kingston, there's a health shop, and they did an intolerance test, and it's quite archaic. They had like a box and glass files, and you held a metal thing and they touched it. Every time there was some resistance, they turned it.
Okay.
And it ended up that I had a yeast and a sugar intolerance, and then slightly with cow's milk, red wine, and like corn, the
Yeah.
American cornbread. And I must admit, knowing that, if I keep that out of my diet, you know, if I don't drink
Yeah.
wine, if I don't have bread, I feel a lot better.
Let me tell you something.
So
That's
I
really
don't-
interesting.
I don't know whether there's anywhere like that now. That
Yeah, there
you
is.
can-
There is. It's,
That's
Otherwise
kinesiology, isn't
No,
it?
no,
It
no.
is a lot of
let me tell you something.
guesswork.
All those foods, I don't need to do a test. Avoid them. All of them. You don't need to know a test because we're all intolerant to those foods. They're not foods. Bread is not a food. It's a processed.
No, it's the yeast, which is in a lot
Yeah,
of things.
the
sugar is
yeast,
in a lot
the
of
wine,
things.
all these things are processed foods. So I would say,
All
even
have
without that,
fibers.
avoid them anyway.
Yeah, I went for one of them things as well, and she said that was allergic to tomatoes and potato and aubergine and
Ah, the
We did
Like
the
all
we did a
these-
test online. It was the what's it called it's basically one where you send off I can't remember because it was absolute rubbish. It said that I was allergic to. I'm not saying yours wasn't. It sounds like it really helped you.
I'm saying it helped me.
But if you applied that rule to everyone in this room, I bet everyone would get better.
the night.
This is true.
that's
It's
right,
like-
yeah. 'Cause I
Yeah,
was
that's
sweating
like
They are
Yeah,
from
that's-
the same class, night
yeah,
shift.
I couldn't have any or
But those-
chili
all
or
those foods you
pepper
mentioned
or
are gonna
so I'm
damage
very
this.
spoiled
But could
with
you
diet.
feel?
So although they might call it
used to
intolerance,
sweat when
it is
I
an
had
intolerance,
certain
but everyone would
things, I
have
didn't know
those.
what it was.
Because
and then
general
she
health
said
of
it
a
was
human
that.
being does not
So-
enjoy any of
It
those
would be
things.
very sad not
Some
to
people
have
may
tomato.
be able to
And I got
tolerate
told I was
them,
celiac
doesn't mean
as
it's
well.
helping them. Going back to this, is it a medicine or is it a poison? All of those are poisons, every one you mentioned. So it's not, you might be able to tolerate it better than someone else, it doesn't mean it's good for you. It just means that you're not noticing it's having a bad effect. Yes. I don't as well, and I didn't do the test, but I avoid all those foods specifically for that reason, because they're not foods. When you go into a supermarket, what percentage would you say is food?
So vegetable
10.
and, yeah.
10. I would say it's 10. I would say it's 10 is actually food that
Yeah.
could actually do something to help you. Maybe, yeah, arguably 15 or 12, whatever you want to say, but it's not 50-50.
No.
And it's not even close to that. And it should a supermarket selling us the ingredients that feed our bodies, shouldn't they have a bit more food?
Mm.
I walked down the ice cream aisle and I'm like, wow, like I love ice cream, but I try not to eat them. It's about there's like 5 packs of peas,
Yeah.
and I got a million different ice creams in every different flavour. There's only one flavour of peas, pea flavour. So I agree. I think there's certain things that just don't help you, no matter what your levels of intolerance. For some people, it's going to be better or worse. We set this thing off. I was told that Chardonnay and mushrooms.
Well,
I've eaten and drunk Chardonnay
yeah,
ever since.
mine is
Hasn't
Chardonnay as
made
well.
any difference. But if I drank loads of Chardonnay, yeah, it's probably going to do me some damage, right? I can't remember what the company was. It's
Was
a
a
really
lot of money
famous
for
company. It was about £100 odd. And I just sent them a message back saying, what a scam. So that's the other thing is, you've got to, I think there's a bit of trial and error in this. Any more questions?
Do you do nutrition talks?
Just did one.
No, like what to eat to
With-
help with your.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to not do that for the same reason I said earlier. Everyone's a little bit different, right? So the rules are, there's lots of things you can do, there's lots of things you can do. And I find nutrition is exhausting to try and get people into because they'll within 2 weeks, this has taken over and they're back to square one. Maybe 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. It's a very difficult thing to get people into. So I'm a nutritionist, I find it exhausting to do as a job. Because everyone likes a little cheat, or they're going off on a wedding, or there's a holiday, and all that comes tumbling down. And guess what? They've fallen off the horse, they're not getting back up.
Is little things like what foods you could eat to help with the probiotics,
I can
Yeah.
ask
that
that
sort
one.
of thing?
Yeah.
But I suppose that's what you all do here anyway, isn't it? So
Well, we will
That's
point
why
you in the right
fermented
direction.
food.
We point you in.
Fermented food, I would say. No?
Well, it's not even just fermented foods. If it was grown by or on a plant, it's probably okay. If it's made in a plant, it's probably not okay.
Oh,
So just take
Wow,
that.
there you go.
If
There you go.
it grows under the sun, you're probably okay. If it's not, then it's probably not. So essentially, if you can pick up a packet and you not understand what the ingredients are on the back, if there's anything on there that you don't understand on the back, you pretty much immediately say that's not right. So there's so many additives, and the book that's probably I found that was best on this was Chris Tolkien's book, ultra processed people, which talks about all of the additives and stuff that are in our food, because there's a reason why there's so many of you sitting in the room right now, and it's because our food's changed.
It's one of our biggest hopes in terms of people turning up. It's incredible how many people. Online, I think we had, obviously it's nice weather, so not everyone's come. But I think we had about 50 people sign up for it, which is incredible when you think we're a chiropractic clinic. But yeah, I mean, nutrition is something that you can really, I think you have to kind of, again, it's a trial and error thing, but there's certain rules that you just follow. And that's a great one.
and like-
made in a plant,
Yeah.
probably not.
Yeah, and like Doug says, the other issue is that if we say we're going to give you a load of nutrition advice, the advice that's right for you is not the right advice for her, and the advice that's right for him is not the right advice for him. So you can't just make a generic, the most generic thing you can say about people. If it's natural, eat that first.
If it's got more than one ingredient,
Well,
try and stick to one ingredient foods that you would mix together. That would be the place to start. Like I like my sort of staple meal is a sweet potato, some vegetables, green, a good mix, different colours, beetroot, carrots, and then some sort of protein, whether that's fish or whether that's chicken. Whether I'm not vegetarian, Patrick is vegan, so we have different views on those things. I love vegan food, but I don't generally I don't avoid eating certain proteins. And I've been doing that for quite a while now, and I just think, but we have a lot of variety. We have lots of yogurt and berries, and I don't mind having frozen berries as much as fresh berries. But I think just having a certain type of food on your plate, some veg, a very good starch, not a bad starch. That can be brown rice, that can be brown pasta, it can be like say a sweet potato, and then some sort of protein that suits you. That could be tofu. It could be a big steak.
Not this is chicken, not chicken.
Yeah.
Because again, that's your 100 ingredients.
Yeah. This is the danger with vegan and vegetarians. They just take all those complex, foods that we want to avoid and say this is better for you than chicken. You're probably better off with the chicken. And that's going to, even if you're not someone that can tolerate meat and things like that. So I think it's a very, very personal subject, and that's why I try to make that clear to everyone. I can't give you personal advice. What I can do is kind of say there's some really good rules to stick to that are going to make a massive difference. You might find a 50% improvement in your health and your energy just by following those 30 steps that Zoe came up with. As I said, I keep referencing Zoe because they've got all the evidence and they've got all the proof, and I know someone that went through the process. But I'm sure if you did your own kind of searches on YouTube, you're going to find some incredible stuff. Diary of a CEO is one of the best programs for really getting an insight into some of the things you want to find out, because it'll just be the top expert in the world on that, telling you everything you need to know. And they'll have a book or they'll have a website, so you can go and find that information out. But my biggest issue is lots of the vegetables today don't have enough nutrients. So although you could even make those choices, I still use supplements to give my body a little bit more. And I said, I don't know they're making a massive difference. I might have the most expensive urine in the room, right? But I can assure you, I've never felt better, so I don't want to stop. And that's the bit where I judge how I'm doing. How do I genuinely feel? There is no better judge. There's no better, honestly, when it comes to actual diet and health. How's your energy? How do you feel? Are you getting the best out of life? That's what we want for our clients. It's not just being out of pain. When they come to us, that's their goal, and all of a sudden then they start having higher goals. Maybe I will do that half marathon. Maybe I will go back to yoga. Maybe I will play golf twice a week now, because they now see a potential that they never had before. This is one way of getting that potential. So, okay.
How does chiropractic help then with
Great question.
this?
It's my favourite question.
Yeah.
With
With the whole gut health.
So if your gut is in the, I think I explained this earlier, but I'll go through it again. But basically, we didn't do it. I did it probably in a muddled way. So here's your gut here, right, and all the different processes that are required. So if your gut needs to be in rest and digest to work, which it does, if you're in fight or flight because you've got pain and chronic inflammation and discomfort coming from where the nerves actually leave the spine, do you think your gut is going to work at an optimal level? No. So what we see with people, and we see this all the time, and we don't sell it, but it just seems to happen, is two things they always write. Three things they always write on their review forms when we do the reviews. That is well-being, better sleep, and better digestion. And the reason is, once you if you sleep better, you digest better. If you're under less stress because your spine is not causing irritations to the nerves, and you haven't got any stress in your body, because the way we treat people, we actually check that everything is working properly. We check the legs, we check the arms, we check that everything is functioning properly. And if your posture's in a good place, these nerves can do their job at the right times when they're supposed to. If you've got irritations, distortions, subluxations causing irritation, this is going to kick in, because your brain is going to pick up pain and it's going to go into fight or flight. Pain reacts and inflammation reacts fight or flight.
And that's just on the neurological point of view. That doesn't even go to the mechanical point of view.
Yeah.
Of if you're slouching, you're already putting increased intra-abdominal pressure. So you're increasing the amount of pressure in the
Even
gut
doing
if
this,
you're slouching.
which one do you think is going to work better in my stomach? This one or this one? Yeah. In fact, this is worth passing around. Actually, this is a guy that came in not so long ago and spent about 4 months with us. That's before and after. How do you think his gut's doing now? How many people do we see that come in like this? Shoulders down, gut here, all compressed here, and not sleeping very well. So we have hundreds of these on our scans because we do them periodically with patients. It isn't just about obviously how you feel. If you've got a better posture, holding all these things in place, they're not going to compact and they're not going to be getting in each other's way. So there's lots of reasons,
But it's not the only reason.
And obviously people like feeling good, like feeling like their spines are moving and their joints can work and they're actually going in. The other thing I think is really important here as well. If you're sitting here now, are you helping yourself move towards wellness, or are you helping yourself move towards disease? I would say towards wellness, just by sitting here and having this conversation. But by sitting here, physically, you're helping yourself towards disease. So if you just stay in the middle, you're not going to just stay there. You're going to go one way or the other. So if you're not trying to help yourself improve your life, as you get older, it gets harder. So you have to do more. So if you start moving in that direction of functioning better, moving better, having a spine that operates better, do you think your later life is going to be a better experience? Yeah. You've got two options when you get older to your family. You're either going to be a burden or you're going to be a blessing. And it's your choice which one you're going to be. We all earn our postures, we all earn our health. It sounds harsh, but you know, if you don't do the homework, you don't pass the test. And at the moment, if you're not doing anything to help yourself, then you're probably slipping in a direction where your body's losing its health. And at some point, that's going to let you know about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Sounds harsh, but it's a responsibility that you all have to yourselves and to your families. Right, so on that note, in your bags, you've got some really great advice. So I've put some advice about what foods and how they help you and which different ones. I wish I could have said that to you, but you know, it's there, yeah? So you've all got some great advice, you've got some connections to chiropractic. You've also got a lovely voucher. And that voucher is a special offer from me, personally. And basically, if you want to come and do a consultation, as you're in our clinic, if you want to come and see me, we'll include a full consultation to check your spine, to check your posture, and to check your function. We'll also include an X-ray or two, depending on what you need, if it's necessary. And then we'll include a full report where I explain everything to you about what we found, what we can do, and then you can decide whether you want to go ahead or not. So that's all included. If you pay today, instead of being £200 or even half price £100, I'll do that for you for £55. You even get a free bar of probiotics. No, prebiotics, sorry. So probiotics, yeah, you can make them into probiotics when they go inside. And I just wanted to say a massive thank you to everyone for taking the time to listen to me bang on about something I'm really passionate about and something we try and just coach our clients with. We don't tell them what to do, we just tell them where to look and where they can find the information for themselves. Because you know what? If you give a man a fish, he eats for the day, teach him to fish, and you can charge him a monthly subscription for training. No, he learns he can eat for the rest of his life and look after himself. And that's what we want for our clients. Take ownership, take control, and you can be your best energy, full, best version of yourself.